Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast, and welcome to another edition of the State of the Saints podcast live. And thank you very much for tuning in. I apologize. I know I said I was gonna start around 9 o'clock, but of course, man, I was on daddy duty throughout the evening, and then my girl got home. I had to make sure that she gets settled and everything like that, man. So I want to say thank you all for checking out the live. Thank you for spending your Friday night. If you're watching this on a Friday night, thank you very much for spending it with yours truly. Earlier today, we went live. We didn't go live long, maybe for about 30 minutes, but we were talking about COVID-19. I know it's a topic that none of us really want to talk about. I get it, right? None of us want to talk about COVID-19, but we have to talk about it because now it looks like it's affecting football. We talked about Dr. Fauci's information that he came out with. He was talking about the numbers have spiked and how the NFL they need to reconsider playing games this fall. So I mean, this is very troubling for a sports fan like me and you. The fact that we could possibly not have football. But right now, I have the statement that was given by Dr. Fauci. And for those that don't know who Dr. Anthony Fauci is, he is the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. So, this is something that came from him, and this is a statement. It says, unless players are essentially in a bubble, isolated from the community, and they are tested nearly every day, it would be very hard to see how football is able to be played this fall. If there is a second wave, which is certainly a possibility and which would be complicated by the predictable flu season, football may not happen this year. That's coming from Dr. Anthony Fauci. So, the question of the night, or the question of the day, or the afternoon, whenever you're watching this show, is will there be football in 2020? I mean, it's very, very simple. Will there be football in 2020? You look around the landscape, man. I looked at the news today. They said 21 members of the Clemson Tiger college football team tested positive for COVID-19. You're seeing other teams and stuff like that. Players are testing positive for COVID-19. You've seen like basketball players have been affected by it. It just seems like to me like this is going to be very, very, very tough. And I know we haven't really talked about it because I think we all tried to be as optimistic as we needed to be or as we wanted to be because we looked at the date of which when COVID-19 came out, we thought, well, maybe around August or September, they would have had a solution to this problem, but it looks like it's getting worse. So I'm very concerned about are we going to be able to play football this season? You know what I'm saying? I'm very concerned about that. I'm very concerned to know if there's a possibility that we can be missing the NFL altogether. And I know this is something that none of us want in a Who That Nation. I know I don't want it. But at the same time, like I don't know. You know what I'm saying? This is very, very frustrating, man, because I want to see the NFL. I want to see my favorite team, the New Orleans Saints, take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week one. So I don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? This is very, very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. But just want to give a special shout out to everybody in the chat. Ryan, what's going on? Darrell, thank you. Justin, Jerry is back. Brian, he was there earlier today as well. Greg, and also I be ripping them, man. Thank you very much for being a part of this live show tonight. And just gonna read some of your comments. Ryan says I'm a big New Orleans Saints fan. Well, Ryan, you come to the right place, man, because this is what we do. We talk New Orleans Saints. We discuss the New Orleans Saints here on the State of the Saints podcast, and we talk about some of the hard hitting discussions, man. Things that probably you won't hear on other podcasts. I mean, we talk about everything. You know what I'm saying? We don't shy away from anything. But thank you very much for being a part of the live tonight. Darrell said, "What's up?" Justin says, "Who that?" Jerry says, "Hey, TJ Jones, what's going on, Jerry?" Jerry Jerry said Trump is to blame of all of this. I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't mind talking political things, but when it involves the Saints, only when I can make it involve the Saints. I mean, I think when you start talking about that, you know what I'm saying, we already know where that's gonna go, Jerry. We already know. I be ripping them says the world's most contagious fart disease is really going to affect the smell in the Superdome this year. I be ripping them, man. Hilarious, man. I don't know, man. You might not even get no farts in there because they might not even have fans. Might not have fans in the Superdome, man. Ain't that crazy? Man, I mean, this would be a huge season. I mean, for football, man. I mean, you got two legendary quarterbacks in the same division going toe to toe twice. I don't know, man. I just hope they can figure this thing out. Jared Poor says more cases, more deaths. It's sad. Yep. You would have thought that they would have had a solution to this COVID-19 problem, but it don't seem like it's happening. It don't seem like there's no signs of letting up. And now, you know, like I said, there's free COVID testing almost on every corner now. I think the numbers are going to spike because now people are willingly going to get themselves tested. So, of course, they're going to spike versus earlier in the year when they only had so many tests to go around. So, I'm looking for the numbers to continue to increase because COVID-19, which is man, it's just so weird, man. This virus is just so weird. Like every week they coming up with a new symptom. It seems like anything that you have, you can have COVID-19. They're saying if you have diarrhea, if you're coughing, if you got a shortness of breath, if you know what I'm saying, you lose your sense of smell. I'm like, come on, man. I'm like, everything can't be COVID-19. Like everything, you know what I'm saying? Anything that you can think of, now they're saying that it's a symptom. Like, come on, man. Like, people are going to be walking around here, any little small thing, they're going to think they have COVID-19. But, you know, people getting tested and stuff like that. And like I said earlier, you know, people don't even know if they have it or not. You walking around here, don't even know you're fine. And you just go there and be like, man, let me see if I have COVID-19, and you end up having it. Like, how can you control that? Um, a farting millennial. Can Jamal Adams fart at the snap? I don't know, man. I don't know if he can do that tonight. You know, he played a safety position, so he played the backfield. So by the time he fart and it gets up there to the quarterback, he might not be able to smell it anymore. So thank you very much for the $2 donation, farting millennial. I really do appreciate that. Let's see, Darrell. I still love Drew Brees. I think we all still love Drew Brees. You know, I don't think that changed. I just think that people are just a little bit taken back with his comments and his stance at the time that he said it. I don't think anybody has a problem with Drew Brees. Drew Brees is a good human being. I just feel like sometimes we can have ourselves a little bit of a disconnect when things don't really apply to us or we can't see ourselves in those situations. So, I mean, I just think that it was just a bad choice of. I don't want to say a bad choice of words. That's his own personal view, but it was just at a bad time. It was where we didn't need that right now, and it was a way to deflect away from some of the issues that's going on in this world right now. So I got a lot of respect for Drew Brees. I love him to death, man, and I hopefully he can bring us another Super Bowl before he gets up out of here. Speaking of Jamal Adams, man, I had a poll going up on YouTube, man. I don't know if y'all saw it or not, but the poll question was: should the Saints try to make a trade for Jamal Adams? As you all know, well, some of you may not know, Jamal Adams, he played for the New York Jets, and he's looking to be traded, man. He's looking to be traded, and he has some teams in mind, but I don't know if the Saints were on the list or not. But I was wondering, like, would that be a good move for the New Orleans Saints? Jamal Adams is a good safety, good solid safety, but you know, a lot of people are saying like he's not one of the best safeties in football. But would you like to see him in a Saints uniform? That's the question of the night. Let's see. Tom Brady. I hope Drew sold all his belts because I know he's going to spank me twice this year, and I don't want it to hurt too bad. Well, Tom Brady, once again, you have shown yourself here on the State of the Saints podcast, and I will not believe that a six-time Super Bowl winning quarterback self-esteem is that low. I refuse to believe that. But Tom Brady, thank you for being a part of the show. Really do appreciate it. I just want to see my Cameron Jordan put his hammer to Tom Brady and sack his butt. Yeah, man. I mean, a lot of people are excited about that. I just think that Tom Brady gonna get a rude awakening. You know, I just think that all those years he played in the AFC East with mediocre quarterback play at best, he's gonna get he's gonna realize, man, it's tough to play in a division like this. I feel like the NFC South is one of the best divisions in football, always has been. And it's sad that Tom Brady had to show up in order for the NFC South to get any type of respect. But I mean, he gonna see, man. You're gonna have to go out there. You're gonna have to play in order for you to win. So I hope he goes out there and he competes because they're gonna really need him to win games. All great, but Drew is the GOAT. I mean, that's debatable, Tom. I mean, that is. You know, as a Saints fan, I love Drew Brees, but that's a great debate. What is your thoughts on all three quarterbacks on the New Orleans Saints team? Well, Brian, that's a good question. My thoughts on the three quarterbacks on the Saints team. Let me start with Drew Brees. I look at Drew Brees. He's a leader. He's a guy that knows that offense like the back of his hand. Over 15 years of experience in the Sean Payton's offense. I feel like he is the best quarterback on the team. Contrary to popular belief, and I know that's not the most popular thing right now. Some people want Drew Brees to retire. Some people want Drew Brees to dip on out and allow somebody else to come in. But Drew Brees is still one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. No, he doesn't have the arm strength he once did in his prime. And no, like some of the decisions that, he makes sometimes, especially in big time games, frustrates us. But he is the best quarterback on his team, and I think that if you're talking about going to the playoffs and possibly winning a Super Bowl, Drew Brees gives you the best chance. Then you got Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, in my opinion, is an up and coming talent. I haven't seen much out of Taysom Hill for me to say that he's going to be a bust or he's not going to pan out as the successor to Drew Brees if he gets the opportunity. But I would like to see him, do more plays or play more snaps under center. I know he can do all those different things. He's a Swiss Army knife. He played tight end. He played fullback. He played running back. He does all these other things, but I would like to see him play more quarterback so I can get a close look at him as a quarterback. So, I mean, I'm reserving my judgment until he gets a full opportunity to be a starter for the Saints. And then Jameis Winston, man, they got so many questions about Jameis Winston, man. Can he, get over these interception woes? Will he be able to become a better quarterback in a Sean Payton system? Will he be able to kind of settle down and not throw the ball so erratically? Will he get better at his decision making? There's so many things about Jameis Winston that are up in the air. But Jameis Winston is a good quarterback that has really great qualities. So if he can cut down on interceptions, who knows? I mean, we talk about Taysom Hill, but this can be a quarterback battle. And me personally, knowing Jameis Winston and knowing his personality, I know he just didn't come to New Orleans to be, just a backup. I feel like he came to New Orleans for a reason because he looked at how Teddy Bridgewater resurrected his career, and maybe he felt like some of that magic quarterback pixie dust that the Saints are giving out will be able for him to save his career. So you look at all three of those quarterbacks; they all do special things, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the Saints are going to use them. I don't think the Saints are going to play Jameis Winston at all this season. Probably better for him not to play, for him to sit down and learn, and that'll make him more hungry, and also that'll make him a better student of the game. But I'm interested to see how they're going to use Taysom Hill this year. Will they up his snaps? Will they continue to put him in the same type of offense? Or will they expand the playbook so he can, do more as a quarterback? But that's my opinion on the three quarterbacks. Let's see. Coach Sean needs to stick to the run this year. Darrell, I mean, this is something that's always been going on the State of the Saints podcast, us lobbying for the running game. I do feel like the Saints need to run the football much, much more. I feel like the New Orleans Saints need to do a little bit better in the running game. I know if you look at some of their stats, it look like they're a balanced team, but they're not. Sean Payton refuses to run the football throughout games. He doesn't want to, wear down the defense. He tries to get the ball down the field. I feel like he's too impatient, but he can continue to do what he's been doing and not be impatient. But the Saints aren't going to go anywhere. You got to be able to control the time of possession. You got to be able to run the football, and make sure that you have a really good balance. And as long as Sean Payton continuously not run the football, continuously tries to throw the ball downfield and just try to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game, the Saints not going anywhere. They'll probably win some games. They'll probably generate some excitement in the Superdome, and they'll probably give us some things to talk about throughout the season. But the history will continue to repeat itself. Teams will buckle down when in the playoffs, and they'll zero in on Drew Brees. And because you haven't been running the football, you can't just switch to it all of a sudden. So it's going to be the same old song and dance. It's going to be the same old rinse and repeat type thing. I mean, the definition of insanity, they say, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. If Sean Payton believes that by throwing the football year after year is going to get him to the promised land, he's sadly mistaken. Michael Alexander says, I think on paper this team is better than the '09. TJ, do you think so? I thought realistically on the Saints Super Bowl hopes this year. Mike, thank you very much, man. That's a very good question. First off, you said the Saints on paper are better than the '09 team. For the last 3 years, I feel like the Saints team were better than the '09 team. And I know a lot of people will probably debate me about that. Just because the team won the Super Bowl don't mean that mean they were a better team. Okay, you can make an argument. For example, the 2007 New England Patriots were better than the year before. When they end up winning a Super Bowl. So that's the way I look at it. They almost went undefeated throughout the whole season, and if it weren't for Asante Samuel letting that interception go through his hands, who knows what would have happened? You know what I'm saying? So I just say that I feel like the last couple of years, the '09 team, has been trumped by these teams. But do I think realistically they can go to the Super Bowl? Absolutely. I do feel like the Saints can go to the Super Bowl. I think that they have a strong chance of going, but it's all about running the football, playing good defense, and not relying on Drew Brees throwing the football all over the place. I think as long as you're doing that, then you're going to continue to have the same old problems over and over again, time after time. But I think they got a real strong chance of making the Super Bowl, no doubt about that. Um, but there's going to be some tough battles, man. I mean, you see teams getting better. You see teams getting stronger. They're going to develop chemistry. So, I mean, the window is slowly starting to close on the New Orleans Saints. So hopefully they can capitalize this year. Breeze still has it. He's still above average at a quarterback rating. He just needs to protect the ball a little better. Not that he hasn't. Well, I think that he's been protecting the football, but it's just a matter of him playing at an elite level, at a high level when it matters most, man. I mean, you can't just be out there putting up regular season numbers, you know what I'm saying, like throwing a ball, taking the NFL by storm, being in the MVP conversation, but when it matters most, when the game is on the line and the chips on the table, all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, you folding like a cheap tent. I mean, that is starting to be, you know what I'm saying, the legacy of Drew Brees, whether we like it or not. People know that he's a good quarterback. People know that he's great. People know that he's an all-time, leading passer and touchdown leader. But when it matters most, people are judged at what they do in the playoffs. What you do in the playoffs defines your career. And when they start having conversations about who's better, who's the best, who's the GOAT, they start looking at your playoff record. And Drew Brees, you know what I'm saying, like in the playoffs, hasn't been playing really good. So he could right the wrongs if they get themselves a magical run this year. But I feel like the Saints need to treat Drew Brees like the Denver Broncos treated Peyton Manning. Yeah, I feel like Peyton Manning, career was, winding down, and he didn't have the arm strength, and he got carried towards the end of that season, going into the Super Bowl. But I feel like the Saints need to play the same type of way. You know what I'm saying? Even though Drew Brees' arm talent is still there, and it's much better than what Peyton Manning's was. But they need to treat it just like the Denver Broncos did. The Denver Broncos got a good offensive line, they ran the football, and they played really good defense. And if the Saints can do that, and they just can count on Drew Brees to throw the ball every now and then, you know what I'm saying, like to keep the ball moving, I think they'll be okay. Josh and Jesus, thank you very much for the $2, brother. He says Sanders can run the football uh, through. So there's that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he can run the football, man. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders can do a lot of things, man. He can throw the football. You know what I'm saying? The Saints can do like all type of wide receiver screens. He's really elusive. He's a smart football player. So I think he brings a very special dynamic to the team. No doubt about that. The rise of the tight end, Trotman, going to be. I mean, Roscoe, man, I've been saying that although since the draft started. Adam Trotman, I feel like is going to be the second coming or the next Rob Gronkowski, pending injury. He has that type of talent. He's a special player, man. He's one of those tight ends that can block really well. You know what I'm saying? A wide gap type of, tight end. And he can also, catch the ball really well. So I think that he's going to be a very special player for the New Orleans Saints, no doubt. As long as he stay healthy. What do you think about the coaching staff on this team? What do I think about the coaching staff, Brian? I think we got some decent coaches, man. Nothing to hoop and holler about. Sean Payton, I think he's a really good football coach. I think he's among some of the best in the league right now, but I feel like he kind of losing his luster. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, he sometimes, hurts the team with some of his play calling. I feel like the last couple of years, you can make an argument to say that the Saints haven't made it deep into the playoff or even to the Super Bowl because of some of his play calling. But I think he's a good coach. And some of these other coaches, I think they were much better. I think they were a breath of fresh air from the coaches that we once had when we were having the same issues every single year. Like linebackers can't tackle or cover, or wide receivers getting, wide receivers having issues catching the football, cornerbacks getting smoked like brisket, burnt like a biscuit time after time again. But I mean, even though these cornerbacks and safeties are giving up big plays late in games, they still are much better than what we had when they had the other coaches when Sean Payton, for the first 10 years of Sean Payton's coaching career with the Saints. So I like them, man. I think they're okay. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they're elite or nothing like that. And I don't think none of these guys will, be great head coaches, but they're good at what they do. Uh, Brian Pearson, thank you very much for the 2.99, man. I appreciate that. Roscoe says if Taysom plays better in the playoffs, we need to utilize him more. Like the Vikings game last year, he was killing them. Agree or disagree? Oh, absolutely, man. Look, you get like there were three quarterbacks that took the field. Two of them were starting quarterbacks, and you know what I'm saying. Like, man, Taysom Hill was the best quarterback on the field that day. You can make an argument to say Taysom Hill was better than Kirk Cousins. He was better than Drew Brees. He was the best quarterback on the field. And I do feel like if he probably would have been on the field, the Saints probably would have won the football game. But I mean, hindsight is 2020. We never know. I mean, it's over. The Vikings end up getting a win. But I do feel like the Saints need to utilize Taysom Hill a little bit more. They need to, you know, allow him to be a part of the offense. They need to allow him to be a quarterback in the offense, not just lining them up as a tight end. I mean, I think that you have the answer for your tight end situation. You know, you got Adam Trotman. You got Jared Cook. I mean, you got two, and you got Josh Hill. I can't forget about Josh Hill, who's a much better blocking tight end than he is a pass catcher, but he can catch. So there's no excuses. You don't need Taysom Hill lining up at tight end or lining up at wide receiver. You don't need that. So allow him to be a part of some of these quarterback packages where he can throw or do some RPO type stuff. So he definitely was the best quarterback on the field in that wild card game. No doubt about that. Do you think Sean Payton will commit to the running back by committee? No, I do not. Russell, I don't believe he's going to commit to the running back by committee. I don't feel that at all. Sean Payton is a tiger that does not change his stripes. And I just feel like he just loves the passing game. He loves it with a passion. I don't know if it's just the fact that he just lives vicariously through Drew Brees or just the fact that he's just not patient enough to allow those 1 and 2 yard gains to happen. I'm not sure, but like I said earlier, you can keep continuously thing over and over again and think that you're going to make it past the point that you keep on stopping at if you want to, but it's not going to happen. Okay, so as long as he continues to throw the football all over the place and not commit to the run, we're going to continue to have these same issues, and we're going to be talking about these same topics on this show and other shows that talk about the New Orleans Saints. But hopefully, we can run the ball just a little bit more to improve our numbers and also make us a balanced attack. You're absolutely right, TJ. I personally love our personnel on both sides of the ball, especially the defense. We finally have depth in so many positions. Just hope we don't choke in the playoffs, man. I think that's what we all looking at, man. Like I think we all know how good this New Orleans Saints team is. I think we all know how special they are, and we all know what they bring to the table as far as their positions and depth and rotation and coaching. It's just what goes on in the postseason, man. I mean, it just seems like it's the tale of two teams. In the regular season, they look like they can't be stopped, but in the postseason, it looked like they forget how good they are. It becomes very frustrating when you know that you have a really good team, when you know a team is special, but they just can't get over that hump. And in some ways, I must be honest with you, Who That Nation, I'm not really concerned about the regular season anymore. For the last couple of years, man, I mean, we've been looking forward to Saints football in the regular season, but I'm kind of over the regular season, man. Like, as long as they make the playoffs, I'm cool. I have no problem with that. As long as they can make the playoffs, as long as they can continue to win, I'm fine with that. Just make the playoffs, man, and do something in the playoffs. I don't really care about the regular season anymore. I don't care about Drew Brees breaking this record and that record and him throwing the ball for 400 yards and this, that, and the third. I don't care. Like, I just want to see them perform in the playoffs. I want to see them have a deep run in the playoffs and a chance at the Super Bowl. Anything else, man, I'm really just not that excited about. Yeah, if a record is broken here, you know what I'm saying, I'd be excited. If a wide receiver or running back have a good game or a player on defense have a good game, I'll be excited. But I'm more concerned about what they are going to do in the postseason. Are they going to be able to get over the hump? Are they going to continuously rip the heart out of the Who Dat Nation year after year? I must say, man, I mean, it's very frustrating, man, to watch. Watch these guys just have all this talent, all this ability, and just choke in the playoffs, man. It is unbelievable. If you could, would you give away Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara for Derrick Henry? Because that's what we've had Henry, Montgomery in the backfield. Josh, absolutely not. No disrespect to Derrick Henry. I like Derrick Henry a lot. Been following the guy since he had about a million gazillion yards in Florida when he was in high school, and of course we seen him at the University of Alabama win the Heisman and stuff like that. But I would not trade Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray for Derrick Henry. I think that Latavius Murray and not Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray are a good 1-2 punch. I just think sometimes, like, out of sight, out of mind. I just think that the reason why we even having this discussion, or you even thinking about this, Josh, has a lot to do with the fact that Sean Payton don't commit to these guys. Because if Sean Payton committed to these two running backs, there's no way in the world we'd be having a conversation about should we get rid of this guy or that guy. It's just the fact that Sean Payton just don't utilize these guys the way they need to be utilized. He don't put these guys and implement these guys into the offense, and he's not patient enough to run the football with these guys. That's the reason why we're having this conversation right now. If the Saints and Sean Payton committed to Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara, we would be talking about we have the best 1-2 punch in football. Like, I completely believe that if the Saints actually ran the ball with Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara more, and they committed to the run, I would guarantee you that we'll have one of the best 1-2 punches in football. But he does not do that. Thus, we're having conversations about, possible Ty Gurley in the future, Derrick Henry, or, some of these other running backs that's coming through that's going to probably be coming out of college, like ETN and stuff like that. So, I mean, he's got to use these guys, man. And that's a fair question for you, Josh, because why wouldn't you ask a question like that, especially since Sean Payton hasn't done anything? 515, you're on the State of the Saints.
Hey man, it's Josh and Jesus. I couldn't really resist calling tonight, man.
Hey man, thank you for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, I gotta ask your opinion on this, man, because I want to get your full opinion on it.
Okay, go ahead.
Um, okay, so there's that drama with in Green Bay with them drafting Jordan Love, and
Right.
good chance Aaron Rodgers won't be there after this year. Do
Mm-hmm.
you think that the Saints are going to make a play for Aaron Rodgers? And if so, do you think they should?
Ooh, man, that is a very, very good question. And that's something that I've thought about for quite some time. To be honest with you, if I were the New Orleans Saints and Aaron Rodgers was on the market, I absolutely would try to go after him. Like, I understand, like, we have Taysom Hill. I understand that we have Jameis Winston. But I think we all can agree that Aaron Rodgers is better than both of those guys. So, I mean, absolutely, if I was the New Orleans Saints, I would try to pursue Aaron Rodgers if he was available. And I think that the New Orleans Saints, if they were to get Aaron Rodgers, I think they'll be able to win some games with him. I think that the Green Bay Packers, I think they want to go in another direction. You don't draft a quarterback in the first round and believe that he gonna be a backup until you ready to retire. That's not gonna happen. And I find it very ironic, man, that the Green Bay Packers, traded up and got this guy in the first round. It's almost like the same thing that happened when Brett Favre was there. When Brett Favre was getting when Brett Favre was there and they drafted Aaron Rodgers late in the first round. So I just think that Aaron Rodgers, I don't think he's going to be there for a long period of time. I mean, based on his ego, the way that he carries himself, I can't see him being a quarterback and wanting to be the quarterback of a team that would draft a quarterback that early. But I would absolutely pursue Aaron Rodgers. No doubt about that.
Well, personally, I feel like they were looking at life beyond Rodgers when they hired Flynn. That was the end of Rodgers to me. I mean, that was
Right.
because Flynn is like what 2 years older than Aaron Rodgers or something. I mean, it's like crazy.
Right.
But I agree with you, man, because Aaron Rodgers knows how to play Sean Payton's style of football.
Right.
So him and Payton would be a really, really good mix.
Yeah.
And he still has his arm, and I believe that he will probably still have that same arm for a couple more years yet. So I think Aaron Rodgers could take the Saints to the Super Bowl.
Me too.
But no, the reason I'm saying about Derrick Henry, all right,
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of the point I made with you last week, all right?
Mm-hmm.
If we were to say trade Kamara and Latavius for Derrick Henry, so Derrick Henry comes here.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've got a backfield with Derrick Henry and Ty Montgomery, right?
Right.
Derrick can be that workhorse guy that gets most of the snaps, runs up the middle, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Ty Montgomery, who would be like the backfield speed catch passing specialist. I think it would be like one of the best 1-2 combos in the history of the NFL, to be honest with you.
Right.
So I just feel like it would just be like perfection.
Right.
No, that was just my opinion of it, but.
That's a very good assessment. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that would be some good GM work. But I mean, I just look at I just believe in Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara, and I think the main reason why, like I said, we're having these conversations is because of Sean Payton's lack of commitment to the running game. And that same 1-2 punch that you feel like that we can have with Derrick Henry and Ty Montgomery, we can have with Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara. But it's a matter of Sean Payton running the football. And you have to look at it like this, Josh. Even if we get both of these guys, you're asking for Sean Payton to completely change his philosophy on how he runs his offense. I wouldn't even want to have Derrick Henry in his offense. I mean, that would set him back. I'm just wondering, just looking at Mark Ingram in Baltimore. I mean, I'm just looking at him in Baltimore. Can you imagine, like, if Mark Ingram probably would have been in Baltimore his entire career, like, what his career would have been like? He probably would have been like one of those people that they consider to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he
Yeah, he
played
was
so well
okay.
in
I mean,
Baltimore because Sean Payton did not run him ragged in New Orleans. I mean, he's 30 years old, but he has the shelf life of probably like 26, 27-year-old running back right now.
yeah, and I mean, I feel like Ingram is every bit as good as Emmett Smith was. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? You know, I feel like he's a modern day Emmett Smith. Not quite like as good as like a modern Barry Sanders,
Oh
but a
no,
modern
no.
day Emmett Smith, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I agree with you there. And then my final thing is I'll address the Jamal Adams thing that you wanted to address.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Um, I think we're set at safety, man, and I don't think bringing him in is going to cost more money than what it's worth. I mean, if we trust CJ, and I mean Williams is okay in the slot too, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And we've got Jenkins. I
Right.
think we're pretty well set at safety. We don't need to bring in another star safety. If anything, we need to bring in a star corner, like
Right.
somebody a corner like Lattimore that can complement Lattimore on the other side of
Right.
the line.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should go after a star corner if we're going to go after another star defender.
Oh yeah. Man, it sounds good. I mean, I agree with you. You know, I mean, the topic comes from, members of the Who That Nation wanted me to talk about it. So of course, I put a poll question up. But I mean, no disrespect to Jamal Adams. I mean, I watched him while he was at LSU, and I think he's one heck of a talent. But I just don't feel like the Saints really need him. And I really just don't think that. I won't say he don't fit, but there's a lot of guys that can do what he does, and honestly, the direction of C.J. Garner Johnson's career, where I feel like it's going to go, I don't feel like it's necessary.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, JG, let's get to your next call and let you get to talking about whatever you want to talk about. Thanks for taking my call, man.
All right, thanks, Josh, man. Call back anytime, man.
All right, okay, I'll call back in a couple minutes.
All right, all right, take care, man.
Good.
Man, shouts out to Josh, man. Always has some good thoughts on the team, and man, that's. I mean, I just look at like the running back situation. I just still feel like anybody. I don't care how good the running back is. Sean Payton is probably not going to use the guy. I mean, we had Adrian freaking Peterson on the team for God's sakes. You know what I'm saying? He didn't use one of the greatest running backs of all time. Now you can make an argument to say that Adrian Peterson lost his burst or whatever like that, but he's doing pretty good out there in Washington. And when he left and went to Arizona for a little while, I mean he was doing okay out there. So I mean, come on, man. Sean Payton just does not want to commit to the run. So it don't matter if it's Derrick Henry, it can be Adrian Peterson, it can be Mark Ingram, it can be Latavius Murray, it can be Alvin Kamara, you can go get Eric Dickerson back, you know what I'm saying? You can Barry Sanders. He is not going to use any of those guys because that's just not his thing. He does not like to run the football for reasons beyond me. I don't know. Maybe y'all got the answers, but TJ Jones don't. Taysom Hill has to learn. Give him a chance. Yeah, man. I mean, look, I give Taysom a chance. I'm not one of those people saying he suck. Oh man, he can't play quarterback. You don't know that. You don't know that, man. Until he goes out there and he plays, and we make a fair assessment of what Taysom Hill is, then we'll know if he's a good quarterback or not. Until then, everybody just basically just talking out the side of their neck. That's all it is, okay? That's all it is. Until he gets a fair shake, until he takes some snaps on a consistent basis, then, all we just doing is, talking. I think the run game depends on the schedule. And in recent history of those teams, the question is which Kamara will show up, week 1 through 5 or week 6 through the playoffs. Man, look that. Alvin Kamara had one down year where, according to the coach said that he was playing at about 73%, and all of a sudden, like, it's week 1 through 5. Like, man, Alvin Kamara is still one of the best, dual, running backs that you can have that can catch and run between the tackles. one season don't define this guy, and I definitely don't feel like this guy's a week by week type person. I don't feel that way at all. Okay, so I think he's a special player. I do feel like he was hurt. Going back looking at some of them games, and like I said, according to the running back coach, I will say that he was hurt. But to say that he's not the same player week to week, that was just 1 year where he was hurt, and it was clear that he was hurt. I mean, all of the last 2 years out of those three, he played pretty damn good. So that same guy that won Offensive Rookie of the Year is the same guy that's going to take the field in his fourth season. So I'm I'm giving respect to him. I'm giving respect to him. Last year Kamara was Jekyll and Hyde. He was hurt. What's up, TJ, the host? What's going on, Joe? How you doing, man? Roscoe said Ty Montgomery is our Sproles back. That's my opinion. And the other guy is the Ingram back. Just hope he can be more a Deuce or a Pierre running back. So, okay, let me get this straight though. Let me get this straight, Roscoe. And like I said, you're entitled to your opinion, my brother. But I want to get this straight. You're telling me that Alvin Kamara, who had one down year, all right, he had one down year, is going to be replaced by a guy who only had one good year with the Green Bay Packers, left the Green Bay Packers, went to the Baltimore Ravens, didn't do nothing, went to the Jets, didn't do nothing. But this guy is going to come in and all of a sudden, like, going to be the answer, and Alvin Kamara is not. I don't know about that one, man. All I do know is Ty Montgomery is a good talent. I've been watching him. Yeah, I think that he's going to bring something to the table. But I think that Alvin Kamara is one of those once-in-a-lifetime type players. That guy's a smart football player. He got wide receiver type hands. He can run between the tackles, and he's virtually unstoppable when he's healthy. Think about this. When Alvin Kamara, when there was no talks about him being injured or no talks about him being banged up, how did he play? Okay? When they start talking about him being banged up and him being injured, how did he play? That's all I'm saying. He's more of a system safety. We're good at that position. Yeah, I agree. Jets benefited him because they blitz a lot. Yep, that's true too. Generational talent for sure. What got you into the New Orleans Saints? What got me into the New Orleans Saints? Oh man, I tell this story quite often. It was my grandmother, man. Born and raised in New Orleans. My grandmother has been a Saints fan since they were expansion team in 1967. She's a huge fan of all the Mannings. She loved Archie Manning. She followed Peyton and Eli and all where they was at Newman. My grandmother loved the New Orleans Saints. My grandmother watched every game. She records the game. They're on DVR. Every time I go down to visit her, she want me to pull up a Saints game. So it was just the fact of her watching the Saints all those years got me into the team. So that's the reason I became a Saints fan, because of her. 504, you're on the State of the Saints.
Yes, hello?
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Yeah, this is Iceman.
Iceman, what's going on, man? Who we talking about? Sean Payton to Drew Brees tonight.
Yeah, man, you already know. I come to land base Drew Brees on a daily basis. Yeah, you already know. But surprisingly, I come to talk about neither, man.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
actually here to talk about Traquan Smith, man.
Okay, man. All right. You got the floor, man. The floor is yours.
Yeah, man. I don't understand why we keep making excuses for Traquan Smith.
Mm-hmm.
First, it was he the second receiver, the Michael Thomas, and that was too much pressure.
Right.
Okay, all right, maybe that was too much pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You go get Ted Ginn Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Now he behind Ted Ginn Jr.
Right.
Third receiver. The
Right.
man still wasn't producing. I'm convinced that Traquan Smith is the P.J. Williams of the offensive side, man.
Wow.
And I'm just going to say it. I'm gonna say it, bro. Traquan Smith, I haven't known any progression in Traquan Smith. I don't understand why we keep making all these excuses, man. We kicked Kirkwood out the door, and Kirkwood was better than Traquan. That's what I don't get.
Right.
That's what I don't understand. Why we keep giving Traquan, and I don't want to hear no excuse about no third-round pick, man. Because Michael Gallup was a third-round pick, and he's outperforming Traquan, man.
Right.
That's his third-round competition to be compared to. Michael Gallup.
Right.
And he has outplayed Traquan Smith.
Right.
And another thing, as I'm watching his tape and footage, he doesn't do anything spectacular. Like, he doesn't have amazing hands. He's not the most crisp route runner. I mean, they say he got deep speed, but we can't see the damn deep speed because he getting, clamped up at the line of scrimmage. I mean, it's a shame, bruh. And I don't want to hear nothing about no rookie, man. This about to be this dude's third year, man. And we still seeing the same thing. This man had 2 good games in what? In 2 seasons?
Right.
That's pathetic, man. And then in the Vikings game, Breeze gave him an opportunity to make a play, and he dropped the ball on the safety. I mean, I'm over Traquan, man. And I just wanted to start a conversation because I get on here, I land base Drew Brees. I get on here, I land base Sean Payton. But one person we can't let go off the hook through that nation is Traquan Smith. I can't let Traquan Smith get off the hook, man, because we can't let him hide behind the whole. Maybe he needs to be further down the wide receiver room, to make an impact. Bro, Deontay Harris is a kick returner, man, and he's a better receiver than Traquan Smith, man. He let a quarterback come in, and he's a better receiver than you, and you was doing this all in college. I mean, Sean Payton designed a whole play scheme around a quarterback, using him doing things that you can't do. That's a bad look, bro. And with that being said, I'm going to get on off the line.
All right, man. I appreciate it. I'll answer it, man, for you. You take it easy.
All
right, man. Iceman T, man, with some harsh reality right there, man. Traquan Smith, man. Look, I didn't say nothing because it's nothing really I can say. It's nothing really I can say about Traquan Smith, man. I mean, he pretty much said it all. Traquan Smith has been a disaster for the New Orleans Saints, man. And I think I know why. I'm gonna tackle this Traquan Smith situation head on. This is the reason why I feel like Traquan Smith has been a failure. Okay? The reason I feel like Traquan Smith has been a failure is because he's soft. Okay? That's the reason why. He is soft. And I feel like he's afraid. He's scared. He goes out there, he plays scared and timid and shy. And I feel like that's the reason why he does not play his best. I feel like he's not as aggressive. Like, you look at Deontay Harris, man, as the season started to progress and the Saints, gave him a couple plays in order for him to be out there. He took advantage of those plays. Rather, the Saints had him like on a wide receiver screen, and Deontay Harris is like about 5'9", $176, $180, but he took advantage of those moments. He took advantage of his snaps. And I look at Traquan Smith, man, I just look at a guy that's just afraid of the moment. I don't know if it's just guys can get in his head. I don't know if it's just the fact that people are just afraid to do anything. I mean, he's just afraid to do anything. But I will tell you this. The Saints are starting to get more and more players on his team. The Juwan Johnsons, the Marquise Callaways. Like I said, Deontay Harris, I feel like going to be much better. You got Emmanuel Sanders. You got Emmanuel Butler. So he really is going to have to step it up. I can honestly tell you that there's a strong possibility that the Saints may get rid of Traquan Smith. He may end up getting cut. And you can't blame the New Orleans Saints because, like Iceman said, I mean, he's been a straight-up 100% disaster. Now, I do feel like some of the pressure is probably going to be a relief off of him. You know what I'm saying? The fact that nobody's saying, where Traquan Smith at? where Traquan at. You know what I'm saying? He's supposed to be the number 2. I feel like, now it's like, okay, I'm going to just play my role. I'm going to just know my role. But I just feel like if you're playing it like that, some of those other wide receivers that are hungry to play and that are playing with empty pockets, they're going to come in and they're going to be playing fearless, and that is not going to be good for Traquan Smith. This is a make or break training camp for Traquan Smith. Notice I didn't say season. I said make or break training camp. So if Traquan Smith comes into training camp and does absolutely nothing and he plays scared, he's not going to be a New Orleans Saint. They're going to end up cutting him. Because, you're a 3rd-round pick. Not like you're a 1st or 2nd-round pick. Teams will get rid of you. So Traquan Smith going to have to step it up, man, for the team. But, I'm rooting for the guy, man. I don't want to see no dude fail. I don't want to see this guy out of the league or not playing for the Saints. I want to see him live out his true potential. I want him to play up to the standard that the New Orleans Saints want him to play up to. Anything else, man, it's just, it's just sad and pathetic. But I want him to be better, and I want him to make the team. 318, you're on the State of the Saints.
What's up?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I want to get up here and ask you about Jameis Winston. Do you think we will see him started all this season?
Honestly, the only way I can see Jameis Winston starting, brother, is if Drew Brees goes down. Unless we have a situation like we had last season when Drew Brees got injured and he missed 5 games. But besides that, man, I don't see Jameis Winston playing any games for the New Orleans Saints. Sean Payton get a little cute every now and then. You know what I'm saying? You might see him take a snap or two. But as far as him playing a huge, you know what I'm saying, a complete entire game, no, I don't see that happening, man, unless Drew Brees gets hurt.
Yeah, I think he's going to be another Adrian Peterson.
You think he's going to be another Adrian Peterson?
Yeah, Jameis is not the answer for this.
Okay.
The guy is good, but he's not the answer for the Saints.
Right.
He has too many turnovers, and the Saints kind of have the same problem because we turn the ball over during important times.
Yep.
If it's a big play that's supposed to happen, we turn the ball over. Drew Brees throw an interception or the ball get fumbled or he gets sacked or something like that. And I don't think Jameis will be a good fit for us because I think that's what he's going to do. And people not realizing that. Jameis Winston is a turnover machine, and he's been that since his college days.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at his college days, he turned the ball over the same way.
Right.
So, and people were saying that it was Bruce Arians. Some of it has to do with Bruce, but it's not all on Bruce because Bruce called the play. You don't get out there and chunk the ball downfield.
Right.
It's Jameis Winston who throws so many interceptions, and he had more talent than anybody had because Mike Evans is a damn good receiver. And I forgot the other one. What his name is?
Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin.
Yeah, he had talent on the team. He had the same amount of talent that we got on the Saints, and he couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that Tom Brady is gonna come down there and make a big impact. And they said he getting overhyped, but I'm a little bit shaken up because one thing I do know about Drew Brees, he's not good with competition to me because he get overjealous and he try to do whatever he see the other person doing. So he'll see Tom Brady go down there and throw a bomb downfield, then he'll get out there like he did in the Vikings game. He'll get out there and try to go throw a bomb downfield and the ball get intercepted. Right. I don't think we're gonna be the same team that we beat, but we may be. I don't know. I just don't see us being on top this year.
Okay, that's a fair assessment, man. You make some very good points. I can see what you're talking about with Jameis Winston. You talked about his time at Florida State. His last season there before he was the first pick overall, man, he was throwing picks left and right. See, the thing about it is, nobody really told Jameis Winston he had an interception problem because you had so many people relying on the success of Jameis Winston to get them ahead. Jimbo Fisher was his coach, and Jimbo wanted, other opportunities. He wanted Jameis, to win him games so it can make his credibility go up. And Jameis got him a job at Texas A&M. So of course he wasn't gonna go up here and tell Jameis what's wrong with your game because you had too many people, relying on him to be successful. I think that it just kept caught up with Jameis. That's just what it is. All those interceptions started to catch up with him, and it had something a little to do with Bruce Arians because Bruce Arians should have understood the quarterback that he had. Bruce Arians tried to run that same type of offense with every quarterback he had, from Carson Palmer to Ben Roethlisberger, Peyton Manning. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, all if you look at his track record and the quarterbacks, all of them had, high interception rates. The way that he ran his offense, so you can't argue to say it had something to do with him because he didn't try to, focus on Jameis Winston's strengths. So hopefully Jameis have an opportunity to sit down. And honestly, if I were Jameis, I wouldn't want to play because honestly, it's only thing that's gonna happen is it's gonna really mess with your confidence if you're getting called into the game too prematurely and the same issues that you had last season that happened in this season. So now teams are going to be like, man, this guy really not good. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we're not going to get this guy an opportunity in the future. So if I was Jameis, man, I would pray and hope that Drew Brees plays a whole season. That way I can give me some what they call mental reps and I can watch Drew Brees at work. I can see his decision making and hopefully some of that decision making and film study can rub off on me. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Because people don't know, Teddy had the same kind of problem with the turnover.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean kind of fixed that with Teddy Bridgewater. Because if you would look, when Teddy Bridgewater played with the Vikings and he was injured and he came back, the first time he got out on the field, he threw an interception.
Right.
And they ended up losing the game.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right on that.
But I think what the problem is with us Saints, man, we've been ruling the NFC South for so long till we act like can't nobody beat us. And one thing I know about Tom Brady, he feeds off competition.
Right.
And I think that's why he joined the NFC South because people were saying that, he's in an easy division, he has these teams that's easy, which he did. But people don't understand this. Tom Brady, he feeds off competition, and I think he's going to be a real competitor. I think they go come out first in the division this year. I think we go come out second.
Right.
Because he got Rob Gronkowski out there too, and he's a beast on the field.
Well, I mean,
I've been watching.
I was gonna say this, man. I was gonna say this. I understand about Tom Brady and him being a competitor and stuff like that, but I believe in great quarterback play, but I also believe in chemistry, and that's one of the reasons I feel like I'm giving the Saints the edge. Not so much that I don't feel like teams can improve, but I feel like the New Orleans Saints have that chemistry and that dynamic that other teams, for the exception, I would say the Falcons in the NFC South have. You know what I'm saying? The fact that they went back and they signed mostly all the players that were with the team last season. Now, if this was like, a season like none other, then I would have a problem with that. But I understand what they're trying to do. Because now you're relying on, virtual, virtual meetings and all that kind of stuff, and people can't interact with one another. There are going to be some growing pains for these teams that getting all these new players. And I feel like Tampa, they might reach their stride like towards the end of the season, but I don't think they're going to be coming out like their hair on fire to begin the season. And I feel like that will give the Saints the advantage those first few games where the Saints actually have the chemistry and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do not. So if the Saints can capitalize on the chemistry that they have and the camaraderie they have as a team, they may be able to put themselves in front of Tampa. So when Tampa does start to get hot, they can win the division. So I feel like if they do that, then they'll be fine.
Yeah, and another reason that I was just because what happened during this thing about Black Lives Matter. I really do think teams are going to be gunning for the Drew Brees this season. I think the black players on the other team are going to be, trying to get to Drew.
Right.
And that was another reason that I was worried because he kind of put his foot in his mouth when he went up there and said all that stuff because I read an article the other day somebody on the Eagles was saying they couldn't wait to play Drew.
Right.
He was going to trying to get him. So that was another reason because I'm kind of scared of you because Drew, he's like 41 years old and he can't be getting hit and stuff like that. And I
Yeah.
think if Drew Brees this season, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Well,
Especially with Tom Brady side
yeah.
down there in Atlanta
Mhm.
and in Tampa Bay.
Right. Well, if it takes Drew Brees to make some controversial comments and some people's eyes in order for them to be motivated to play the Saints, well, shame on them. Because Drew Brees has been in the league for 20 years. And if it just takes for him to talk about something like that in order for teams to be motivated to try to get after him, shame on them. You know what I'm saying? Now, you can talk about maybe a little bit more motivation or something like that. But the Saints, still have a really good offensive line. And unless we're talking about hitting after the whistle or something like that, or doing something like that, then I mean that's fine if they want to, get those $27,000 fines or even higher. Trying to take a shot at Drew Brees for some comments, then that's fine. But I think the offensive line of the New Orleans Saints will be able to hold them up, and I'm very confident, man, that he'll be able to deliver the ball, where it needs to be. So, I mean, I know there's so many different dimensions of, what I'm saying. I understand about the chemistry. I understand about a divided locker room. But, I think that people are so focused on Drew Brees, as the leader of the Saints. They don't look at some of these other guys in the Saints locker room who have emerged and to be a voice probably just as loud as Drew Brees. I mean, when Drew Brees was out for those 5 games, who was in the middle of that circle? It was Demario Davis. When you look at some of those interviews for the New Orleans Saints, I mean, you were saying Teron Armstead, and you were saying like Demario Davis, and you were saying other captains that were on the team, stepping up and being in that position. So the Saints have really good leadership on this team. And if you add Malcolm Jenkins, who's already a leader, not only on the team when he steps on there, but in the NFL in general, being a part of the Players Association, I think the Saints will be all right, man. I understand Drew Brees is the quarterback, but there's so much leadership on this Saints team outside of Drew Brees, and that's one of the reasons I feel like Saints fans need to be happy for the future as well, that you have these guys post Drew Brees that'll be able to keep this team afloat. Yeah,
Like Drew Brees is the only thing we got on the team.
Nah. I mean, I think like you said, it's just the mentality and the what I'm saying that some people have in the Who That Nation. We love our leaders. We love the guys that give us those great moments, and we hold on to those moments. And sometimes we hold on to those moments to a point we watch the years pass by and we don't see what's really going on with the team and how the team has developed. If you look around, man, there are much more leaders on this team than people think. A lot of these guys are leaders in the locker room, and they're definitely leaders on the field, man. But I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Are you
Thank you. Much love from Natchitoches, Louisiana. We love you down here, PJ. Keep doing what you're doing.
All right, man. Appreciate that, man. Happy Juneteenth to you too, man.
All right.
All right,
Thank you.
all right, you take it easy. Yeah, man. Shouts out to the caller. I didn't get his name. But real talk, man. Like the New Orleans Saints, man, they got a lot of leaders up in their locker room, and I know a lot of people are concerned about Drew Brees and stuff like that. But man, shame on those teams, man. If it just take Drew Brees to say something like that in order for them to be motivated to play the Saints. So, sometimes I hate to be right. No harsh feelings. Oh, y'all having a little fun in the chat. Tyrone Jones, Saints will win the division. Man, I hope so. I wonder if that's my uncle. That's my uncle middle name. Shouts out, if that's my uncle, shouts out to my uncle. When New Orleans had Hurricane Katrina, when the Superdome first opened up, the crowd went crazy for the first game back in the Superdome. After Hurricane Katrina, that's why I say sports be better. Yeah, man. Yeah, they did go crazy, man. And I just think that all venues are going to go crazy because people just miss sports and they want a reason to cheer for something. But I see people talking about the coronavirus in here, man. That would really stink if we don't have an NFL season. That would be awful. But that is very realistic, folks. Look, we can close our eyes and pretend as if that can't happen or it won't happen all we want to. But there is a very strong possibility very strong possibility that we may not have football this 2020 season, and I would be very, very upset. I would be very, very hurt if we don't have football this season. Real talk. Let's see. Let me see why I stopped there. Read some more of these comments here. Not saying he's going to be replaced. He's going to be tested. Kamara will do well, no doubt. But like Willie Snead and Lance Moore, some fans have doubts. I told them otherwise. No disrespect to our boys. Look, I mean, Roscoe, maybe you can comment. Why do you have doubts about Alvin Kamara? I mean, I don't. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, man, and I respect it. But I don't understand, like, why would you have doubts about Alvin Kamara? He was hurt one season. Like everybody is not going to be able to, like, stay healthy throughout their entire career. Knock on wood, and hopefully this doesn't happen no time soon. But Michael Thomas might end up getting hurt. He plays a position where there's a very high probability he's gonna get hurt. Just because I think sometimes like we get spoiled sometimes as fans because we look at people like Drew Brees and we look at people like Cam Jordan and we look at some of these other guys that are so durable that we don't never see them miss games that we would like wonder like, man, why don't this guy, like why don't this guy play? Why he always hurt or why, I have not seen enough out of Alvin Kamara for me to just say I wash my hands with him. I'm gonna give up on him. The guy was hurt. So I'm just wondering, man, what do you see in Alvin Kamara that would make you say that you don't think he's going to continue to have success in the NFL or for the Saints? I'm just wondering. I'm very curious about that. Let's see. Did you ever like Aaron Brooks when he played for the Saints? I like Aaron Brooks' first season when he played for the Saints. Like when he replaced Jeff Blake, I liked him then. Okay, when he was hungry and he led the Saints in the playoffs, I liked him. Okay, but then as time went on, between his comments about New Orleans after Katrina and him smiling every time he throw a pick, can't roll with him, man. I'm forever grateful to him though. He was the first quarterback to win a playoff game for the Saints, but not a fan. Not a fan. And honestly, man, I don't think you have a lot of Aaron Brooks fans. And you don't really see Aaron Brooks coming back to New Orleans or anything like that. Like, you don't really see him on the field like that. Like, you'll see, man, I wonder what Aaron Brooks got to say about the Saints' success. Nobody even really talked to Aaron Brooks about nothing. You'll see him every now and then, but I don't think nobody, I don't know, man. Aaron Brooks doesn't have the respect as some of these other former Saints quarterbacks have. Even like Bobby Abel. People don't really respect Aaron Brooks. They don't. I'm sorry, they really don't. They don't have respect for him. I mean, you don't really see you never hear nobody calling Aaron Brooks or want to hear what he got to say about the Saints being successful. Nobody talk to him. Most teams aren't ready for this juggernaut. TJ, I also heard someone on the Falcons said they are gunning for Drew. I'm pretty sure it would probably tag McKinley, but I mean, this guy couldn't get pressure from an air pump. You know what I'm saying? Let's just call it for what it is. Tag McKinley is all talk. Tag McKinley is trash, okay? I was kind of rooting for the dude, you know what I'm saying? When he was on draft day, he had a picture of his grandmother and stuff, and you know what I'm saying? You can see the emotion with him and stuff like that, but man, Tag McKinley sucked. All he does is talk. And I'm pretty sure his team didn't pick up his fifth year option, so I'm pretty sure he's gonna be out the door pretty soon. Did you ever like Aaron Brooks? Oh, I already read that. Trump denounced that doctor. He said that doctor was wrong. There is going to be football. Trump also said he wouldn't watch it if players disrespect the flag. Well, I mean, Donald Trump. I ain't gonna go there. I ain't gonna go there. Well, that's what he said. Did you ever like Reggie Bush? Yeah, I like Reggie Bush, man. I still like Reggie Bush. I just think for what the Saints actually got him for, and what he did for the Saints. I mean, I just feel like he didn't live up to expectations. But he had some good moments and stuff like that. I love what Reggie Bush represented. Reggie Bush represented the new renaissance of the Saints. You know what I'm saying? Like he was the spark. He was like he was the powder keg. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what he was. You know what I'm saying? For all this different like success that the Saints had. You know what I'm saying? He was that guy, that number 2 overall pick. And when he came to New Orleans, right after Katrina, like I love what Reggie represents. So Reggie gonna always be like an all-time great Saint to me in that aspect. But all-time great Saint on the field, absolutely not. Absolutely love Reggie Bush. You ain't a Saints fan if you don't. Yeah, I mean, like I said, what Reggie Bush represented to the city of New Orleans, what he represents as far as like the rebirth and the resurgence of the New Orleans Saints team, absolutely. All-time great Saint in that aspect. If we talking about on the field, if we talking about playing the game of football, nah, he's not one of my all-time favorite Saints. He is not. Look at the guy that took over for Brooks. Kind of easy to forget about him or not care. Inevitable. It's not even that. Aaron Brooks just wasn't that good. I'm sorry. Like he had a very strong arm. I mean, this guy can throw. I mean, man, this guy can thread the needle, but he just wasn't good. He wasn't accurate. His accuracy would come and go. This guy, you know what I'm saying, would like overthrow, underthrow receivers. He just wasn't good, man. Like I just feel like, you know what I'm saying, like the first, year he just kind of caught people off guard because nobody knew what he was gonna do. I mean, he was taking over for Jeff Blake, who was supposed to be the Saints quarterback, who did pretty good before he got hurt. And nobody knew who Aaron Brooks was. You know what I mean? Aaron Brooks was this lowly quarterback out of Virginia who got picked up from the Green Bay Packers and ended up playing for the Saints. And next thing you know, they had a little run and got us to the playoffs. After that, he did absolutely nothing. I mean, he wasn't good. I'm sorry, he just was not good. The only reason people get angry at Drew is because LeBron shared that dumb post like Drew said something really racist. Drew said the same thing 2 years ago. I don't even think it has something to do with that. I just think that the climate that we're in right now and how everybody's emotions is just on, I don't know, just on an all-time high right now. I just think that it was the wrong moment. I think that's what people are saying about Drew. But, man, I don't think it's to a point. Drew has enough skins on the wall for us to be like, man, he just, it was just the wrong time. I don't think anybody think that Drew Brees is racist. I don't think that anybody think that Drew Brees is prejudiced. I don't. And I don't think anybody else should, but I can't speak for everybody else. But I mean, in my heart of hearts, I don't feel that way. But I think a lot of people just feel like it was just the wrong time, and it was just one of those subjects that could have easily hijacked what was going on in society. So I think that's where a lot of people was mad, more so than his comments. Because like you said, Who That Nation, he said that 2 years ago, and nobody really cared. I remember Brooks threw the ball backwards. Man, that guy was trash. I'm sorry. I love Pat Swilling. I find the NFL got him underranked. I miss Pat Swilling. Yeah, Pat Swilling, man, was an incredible linebacker. Was the heart and soul of the Saints defense for a long time. Then he ended up going to the Carolina Panthers, if I'm not mistaken, right? He ended up going there, and I mean, they have a statue out there. So if I'm not mistaken, was that him or Sam Mills? I can't remember. One of them got a statue outside of Carolina. I think it was Pat Swilling, if I'm not mistaken. People forget about Pierre Thomas. He was the most underrated Saint player ever. I don't. Look, Pierre Thomas is one of my favorite all-time Saints. You know what I'm saying? I think he was an all-time Saints player. Due to the fact that he was an undrafted free agent coming out of Illinois. Every season, the Saints would have him as a backup when he was clearly the best running back on the team. I don't know what the hell was up with that. I mean, Pierre Thomas couldn't be a starter to save his life. I mean, I understand Reggie Bush was the second pick overall, but I think we all can agree that Pierre Thomas was a better NFL running back than Reggie Bush was. But Pierre Thomas definitely isn't underrated in my book. I think he's one of the best Saints players that ever played, and I definitely feel like he the greatest screen runner I ever seen. I never seen nobody run a screen better than Pierre Thomas, for real. Like I never seen anything like it. Once he get that ball, I mean he gonna get at least about 15, 20 yards, no doubt about it. Now this Drew last season, I think he saw how Saints fans actually felt about him chanting, "If Drew Brees, the man, done so much for the city, he brought New Orleans back." Look. Nobody denying that. Nobody denying that. Who that nation? I think that a lot of people know what Drew Brees means to the city, but people just felt betrayed. Man, I'm sorry. Like, look, it really, honestly, man, it don't matter. I use that same old example like I've been using for weeks. A person can, give you a gift one day out the week, but you know what I'm saying, if they going upside your head, you know what I'm saying, like, abusing you mentally, physically, emotionally, you know what I'm saying, how good would that gift be? How good is that gift really? You know what I'm saying, if what comes with it? People were just hurt by his comments, man. Like, I don't want to make this a black or white thing, but we all know that New Orleans, majority are African Americans. You know what I'm saying? And people, man, I honestly have to say this. Like, Drew Brees, even though he's a white quarterback, man, black people, like, if Drew Brees was out in the street, Drew Brees can walk through the toughest hood in New Orleans. I don't care where any project, any hood, Drew Brees can walk to there at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I guarantee you, nobody would touch Drew Brees at all. Nobody would touch him. Nobody would get close to him. If anybody thought about touching him, that person would get beat to sleep. That's how much respect Drew Brees has in the city of New Orleans. But when he said that, man, he hurt a lot of people. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm just a messenger, man. I'm just a messenger. This is what people feel. This is how people felt about the situation. They were hurt by his comments. They felt like it was in bad taste and bad timing of what was going on with George Floyd and all these cases with police brutality coming to the forefront. It was an easy way for the movement to be hijacked. That's what people were really upset about. Not so much about his comments, because like you said, Who That Nation, he said it 2 years ago. But the time that, that he said it, wasn't a really good time. And it could have easily went south. I think one of the most underrated Saints was Von Johnson. I don't think Von Johnson was underrated. I think he got the respect. Yeah, Sam Mills. Okay, Sam Mills got that statue. I knew one of them. Yeah, Sam Mills, man. Rest in peace to him. Are you a season ticket holder? No, I'm not. I actually don't live in New Orleans anymore. I live in South Carolina, man. So, no, I'm not a season ticket holder. But I watch every Saints game and, been a Saints fan my whole entire life. I believe he passed away from, he did. Hopkins disease. Have you ever been to a Saints game? If so, how would you feel a fan brought you a ticket? Who That Nation, I have been to a Saints game, been to quite a few. Ironically, since we talking about Eric Brooks, I actually went to the Saints game where the Saints won their first playoff game. I went to that game when they played the Rams. I went to a Saints game when they got blew out by the Carolina Panthers a couple years ago. I went to a Saints game. Who did they play? I know I went to a few Saints games. I know they played Carolina. I went to a game, I think they played the Falcons. I went to a game when they played the Rams, like I said, that playoff game. And I think I went to I maybe went to about 4 or 5 Saints games in my entire lifetime. I'm a conservative, TJ. I see why we don't see this. We don't see it the same. Yeah, man. Look. I don't get into Democrat, Republican, and stuff like that, man. People have their own personal views and all that kind of stuff. I'm cool with that. I don't have no problem with it. I still love you, man. And I respect your right to, give your opinion. Like even if you, agree to disagree, I respect the hell out of you for giving your opinion. That's your opinion, you know what I'm saying? And it's really nobody's right to take your opinion away from you. I just, you know what I'm saying? I just want for us to be able to understand each other. Like, I want us to have these type of conversations to a point where we feel comfortable with one another to have these conversations and be open to change. You know what I'm saying? Because all of us didn't grow up the same way. You know what I'm saying? Like I know we got people from all different walks of life that watch this podcast, that watch these videos. So you can't tell somebody. I feel like this, when people like, man, they should know that. Not necessarily. Like just because you grow up knowing something, dealing with a certain type of culture, don't mean somebody else grew up the same way. It's for us to educate one another to see where we are coming from. I feel like when one person cuts off that dialogue, the conversation is over. And if you're not willing to change your mind and change your heart about a situation, then the conversation is really truly pointless. And even if you can't change your perspective, at least respect a person's point of view and agree to disagree when it's all said and done. Come on, folks. It ain't about race, yo. It's all class. Let's not stoop to ignorance. It's too easy to fall for the political trap. Football, stick to football. Okay, por favor. Look, man, I don't know, but when we talk about certain issues and stuff like that, man, we don't shy away from it on the state of the Saints. Like if politics fall into the realm of football, then we're gonna talk about it, man. We can't like put our heads in a shell and pretend like these situations don't exist because they do. Like we're living in a world where, you have to talk about these situations because they have come to our front door as Saints fans, as football fans, as basketball fans. You got to talk about it. So if we talk about, you know what I'm saying, like we talk about, politics and stuff like that, man, look, I understand the game. I understand the trap. I understand it. That's why I don't allow people's point of view to get me upset or feel like, man, I don't want to talk to this person no more. Or I don't respect this person. Like, I understand, you know what I'm saying, people think differently. And I respect the hell out of their opinion. But I'm not going to pretend like these situations don't exist. But I will not like tolerate people, you know what I'm saying, like with you know what I'm saying, prejudice, you know what I'm saying, statements and stuff like that come from black or white or Hispanic or any other nationality that look at that watch this show. So I can't roll with that. Sorry about what happened, what that cop did to that man. I wasn't right. People shouldn't treat people like that. You treat people the way you want to be treated. I agree with that. What's happening, TJ? I got timed out in another Saint stream for saying Joe Burrow will be the MVP, but you think Clowney wants to play with us after Drew Brees stuff or any black players? Yeah, man. I feel like it would. I don't feel like it really matter, man. Like I said, people know how good Drew Brees is. I just think people were more hurt than anything. I think that Drew Brees has enough skins on the wall for us to all say that. I mean, he not prejudiced or anything like that, so I don't think that's going to affect anything. You don't have football this year. Do you think Drew Brees will come back next year? But I hope we have football this year. I don't think he's going to come back this next year if they don't have football. I don't. I think this is really his last year. And I think that people aren't really paying attention to the fact that he said he was going to take some time to figure out if he wanted to come back or not. I legitimately believe that he thought about retiring. And maybe him and Brittany probably had a conversation. He's like, one more year. And she's like, okay, I'll give you one more year. So I feel like he probably not going to come back this year, even next year, even if there isn't a season this year. Let me see. Rudolph can push off, get away with it. However, Kittle did the same thing in the Super Bowl, but got flagged. It is what it is. Good point. But Rudolph, he had to, he had to go through that play for George Kittle to get flagged. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess like if you look at it, George Kittle, the reason why he did get flagged is because Kyle Rudolph didn't get flagged. Okay, so because Kyle Rudolph play was all on the TV, that's the reason why. They couldn't like not flag George Kittle after that Kyle Rudolph play was analyzed by everybody. So that guy you was on the phone with says he's from Natchitoches, excuse me. TJ is cool as F out there during Christmas time. My grandma used to live out there. Yeah, man. I mean, shouts out to him, man. I never been there before. But man, shouts out to everyone out there in Natchitoches. I mean, I've heard of it. You know what I'm saying? And I've had a few people that actually called the show from that area, man. So shouts out to you. I know Christ just like follow clubbing Breeze in the head and no flag, but then Brady gets slapped on the shoulder a few hours later, and then flags galore. You're right about that. Them NFC and AFC championship games were hitting differently. Do you think about Zion Williamson? If you don't mind me going off topic, I think Zion Williamson gonna be a really good basketball player, man. I like him a lot. I think that he's gonna be a really good player for about 6 or 7 years, maybe, for the New Orleans Pelicans, and then the NBA is going to talk him into going one of those big markets because they hate the fact that he plays for New Orleans because now they got to come down to New Orleans, a small market, franchise, and they got to talk about him to cover the player that they feel like is going to be the successor to the throne of LeBron James. So that's the way I look at it. We probably got about a good 5, 6 years, maybe even 7 with Zion Williamson. And then you're going to have other people on there. I heard the Boston Celtics. I heard the Miami Heat. I heard the Los Angeles Lakers. Man, y'all know how it go, man. They always trying to get these guys out of these towns and stuff like that. That's why I got so much respect for Giannis, man. I think Giannis might be one of the people that stayed like with the Milwaukee Bucks for most of his entire career. And I got a lot of respect for Dirk Nowitzki too. You know what I'm saying? He stayed with Dallas all those years. Even though Dallas is a big market, they're not a big market in basketball. And also like Tim Duncan and stuff like that out there in San Antonio. So I got a lot of respect for those guys. I wonder if I was kneeling while the national anthem was being played and praying for our leaders of this country, would anybody be offended? I don't know. My apologies. I'm not trying to overshadow your viewer's opinion. Let's just say I deal with politics on an everyday basis. I get it through. We're all entitled. I'm just selfish and want to talk sports. Roscoe, look, like I said, we talk sports. We don't like just get borderline political. Every time, like if we talking about something, it always coincides with sports, man. I wouldn't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? If I was just talking like straight political stuff or just straight up like point of view, then I probably, would have like another podcast just focusing on that. And for a while, man, I actually had like a podcast where I just focused on like everyday things, stuff going on in pop culture. But I didn't have a passion for it, man. Like I really didn't care enough to consistently do shows like I care about the New Orleans Saints and talking sports. So, like I said, when it comes to your front door, man, you have no choice but to try to tackle it. That's all I'm saying. Like, I agree, man. Like sports is a way for us to get away from all of the madness that's going on in the world and the world trying to make us take sides and they trying to turn, in my opinion, this is my opinion, trying to turn people of different colors against one another. And I just can't get down with that, man. Like, I just can't. Like, it's just so nerve-wracking to me, because I don't know. I won't get into that. Not necessarily. Vikings would have kicked the field goal, but we would have at least got a possession. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I love Drew. He said no matter how much they offered him, is always who that. Yeah, because I think Arizona offered them some money. and he turned it down. Taysom Hill has to learn. We have to give him a chance. He will be a franchise quarterback one day. I hope so. Somebody said, "Are you crying?" No, I'm not crying. I'm not crying. Nah, I'm not crying. Probably just probably just sniffling a little bit. I heard the Patriots was looking at Hill before we signed him. I wonder if they're still waiting. I don't know, man. I mean, you still got Cam Newton out there. You got Cam Newton out there. Cam's still a good quarterback. So ain't no telling, man. Still got some good. Still got Cam Newton. Cam Newton. His career not over. But to be honest with you, folks, I know the topic of the night was COVID-19, but I hope that they'll be able to find something that'll help this season happen. I'll even be open, man, if we play football with no fans. But looking at like 21 players on Clemson football team getting COVID-19, I mean that's scary. And you gotta look at Dallas Cowboy players. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Houston Texans players. Some of them got COVID-19. That's not a good look. I'm surprised TJ ain't in the podcast yet. Why would I end the podcast? We almost done, but I mean, I'm not going to end it abruptly. What do you think about our schedule? I think it's a tough schedule, but I think that we probably going to win about 11 games. San Diego Chargers and ST. I don't know what that is. Jason David, Fred Thomas, Brandon Browner, Fred Weary, Alex Molden, Toy Cook, Corey White, P.J. Williams. Started a list of all-time sucky Saints cornerbacks. Yeah, that's pretty bad right there. That's some bad imagery right there. I don't see Taysom as a starting quarterback in the league. He's already 30 years old. I mean, Steve Young started when he was 30, if I'm not mistaken. Ironically, Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton might have. I think that's the reason why Sean Payton probably said he remind me of Steve Young. I'm just gonna say it, but Steve Young started when he was 30. Keep that in mind. San Diego Chargers and Los Angeles Rams will be on Hard Knocks this year, August 11th. The Los Angeles Chargers and the Los Angeles Rams. Gotta make sure. Gotta remember they're in Los Angeles now. If they did WWE with no fans, why not the NFL? Well, I think it's a little bit different, man, when you got 22 players on the field versus, at best, maybe 8 people in the ring, like 8-man tags and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different, I mean, guys breathing all on each other and stuff like that. And I don't know if you heard about WWE, man, but they actually shut down tapings of NXT because there were like high cases of COVID-19 with some of their wrestlers. So do you think Tom Brady is going to be 2-0 against Drew Brees? No, I do not. I think they're probably going to be 1-1. I think they're going to split the series. I don't think either one is going to sweep the other. I think that Tom Brady, whether we want to believe it or not, I feel like him just being a quarterback for Tampa is going to get them at least 4 or 5 games. Does it seem funny to you? But every time we have a different president, there's always something going on in the world. Just check it out if you don't. Yeah, man. I mean, it never changes. We always got to be worried about something. We always got to be scared of something. And I'm over it. I won't take Taysom Hill seriously at quarterback until he is removed from special teams. Otherwise, he's a gadget guy. Well, if he can benefit Bobby, then, why not? I think we should run a lot of 12 personnel and run the hell out the ball. That 2 tight end set worked for the run game. Yeah, man, if we want to take it back to 1962 with Bart Starr and them, I ain't mad at you. I do think the Saints need to run the football a whole lot more than they do. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. Yeah, imagine defense 6 foot apart making invisible tackles. Well, that sounds like P.J. Williams every week. I mean, P.J. Williams been practicing social distancing since he been with the Saints. Every play. Every play, PJ Williams at least 6 feet apart from the wide receiver. Every single play. So, if you want to know how to practice safe social distancing, look no further than PJ Williams. That's all I gotta say. Do you think this is a pandemic? Yeah, I think it is. Or do you say a pandemic? Like, okay, you saying like, do I feel like it was a conspiracy or something? I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't put it past them. What do you think the Saints' record is going to be at the end of the season? 11-5. Rob Gronkowski, what is a W 24/7? I think Rob Gronkowski is going to be about 5 games to get hurt. Gronkowski, what is the WWE 24/7 champion? Yeah, he was, but he not anymore. He lost to R-Truth. R-Truth came to his house and pinned him in his backyard. Yeah, I watch wrestling for those that don't know. So R-Truth right now is probably like the 35 time 24/7 champion. PJ, haha. Get this, man, that boy PJ stay getting burnt. Roasted, toasted, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, that's what I'm going to start calling him. PJ Social Distance Williams. That's what we're going to start calling social distance. That's what we're going to start calling PJ Williams. Because like I said, he always play at least 6 feet apart from the wide receiver at all times. 11-5. I had 12-4, 13-3 again. I don't know about 12-4 or 13-3. I'm gonna say 11-5. I'm gonna say 11-5. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Well, we're about to get on up out of here, man. Thank you all very much for spending your Friday night with yours truly, TJ Jones, here on the State of the Saints podcast. And if you have not already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints podcast, facebook.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. Also, check out the podcast on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and Spotify. You all take care. Much love to you. Be safe. Have a great weekend. Talk to you all later. Probably going to do a recording tomorrow. Not going to go live. But Sunday we'll probably be back at it, giving you all a live show where we're discussing the New Orleans Saints. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?